This one.
Ding dong, ding dong.
I can help you. We can go through it. It's no big deal. We're ready? Call the USD 49 Board of Education meeting for Monday, July 2nd to order. First item on the, let's see here, we're going to motion to appoint delegate to the board to run. Oh, I guess we need a motion to appoint a delegate of the board to run the meeting until the board president is elected. We've already got a board. No, we don't. We do have to actually go through for you. Yeah.
Who's gonna recognize the motion? You gotta look somebody to run it, deputy. I'll run it for the 2 minutes that it takes.
Do you want me to make the motion? I'll make a motion to appoint Paul. Well, I don't care. I can appoint Paul Adams to run the meeting until the board president is elected. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Who's running the meeting?
Well, I'm going through and that. All yours, Paul.
Okay, all right.
You're so happy.
So, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
That's kind of what I thought.
I'll move to approve the agenda for July 2nd.
That's what I thought too.
All right. And so now the board will elect a board president, board vice president, board clerk, deputy board clerk, and board treasurer for the 2018-2019 school
You
year.
have to vote on the approval of the agenda.
What's that?
You have to call
Oh,
for a
we didn't
motion to
have
vote
that.
on the approval of the agenda.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
The approval.
Yeah,
Approval of the agenda.
Mike,
Approval of the agenda.
yes,
Move to
Mike.
approve
It's
the
been
agenda.
seconded.
No,
Yep.
it's
We
been moved
did.
and
Yes.
seconded, he just needs to
We just
call
need to
it.
call for the vote.
Call for the vote. There, see, it's kind of. Okay, call for the vote.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. All right. And now, approval of the minutes as presented. Do I hear a
No,
motion?
just a.
Just reorganization of the board.
They aren't in here.
They're going to be in the consent.
They'll be in the consent agenda, okay. Well, let me now go to organization of Board of Education. Board will elect a board president, board vice president, board clerk, deputy board clerk, and board treasurer for the 2018-19 school year. And procedure is just take the board president, deal one at a time.
Right.
All right. So at this point, do we have a motion or any nominations for board president?
Nominate the current vice president, Mandy Fox, for president.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Need a second for.
Yeah.
I just have to accept, right?
Just
So
accept.
you need to have nominations and people
Oh,
can
cease.
continue to make nominations. And
All right,
once-
are there any further nominations?
then you vote.
All right.
I've got my 3 years. I'm good.
Hearing no further nominations, I will then call for the vote.
We need a second.
Do I hear a second?
No, you don't.
I did have-
Not on that.
There was a second. We added a second right down here. And I will, hearing no further nominations and a second, those in favor, Mandy Fox being elected as president, please indicate with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Congratulations.
Now, do we go through, or does this meeting now go to?
And I will.
I'll switch spots.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna reorganize the charge just a little bit, so.
While we're doing that, I will make a motion.
Well, we don't have a vice president.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna make it. That's all right.
I'll
I'm
switch.
gonna make a motion
Switch first and
to
then.
elect Mike Walker as the vice president.
I'll second that motion. Now, it's now, the meeting is now.
Thank you.
Actually, you could run it.
okay. So I'm sorry, I lost track. Mike has been nominated. Nominations have ceased? Nope. Oh, are there any other nominations for vice president? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion. Call for the vote. Jeez. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Okay. Mike, you and Greg switch places, please. Musical chairs. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Oh,
Want to be Mandy for a while? All right, now we're good.
all right. I think we've got it figured out finally.
Bring it to you.
Okay. Yeah, it comes on the other side of the table. Thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna wait for them to get. Is everybody all square here? All right. Next, we'll take nominations for the board clerk / keeper of the records.
I nominate Sarah Wassinger for board clerk and keeper of the records.
Are there any other nominations?
Does it have to be nominated as written? Because it has Renee Booth here as deputy clerk. Do we need to amend or add
I'm
that?
sorry. I apologize, I didn't see that. And Renee Booth for the deputy clerk per KSA 7282OC.
Are there any other nominations? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Okay, motion passes 7-0. Next, board treasurer.
Nominate Nicole Corey as board treasurer for the 2018-19 year per KSA 728202D.
Are there any other nominations? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes 7-0. All right. Thank you, everyone. Next, we'll move on to audience participation. Yeah, crazy. All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Does anybody have any questions on the report of committees, which includes the Hayes Rec Commission agenda and minutes for June 2018? Okay. Next, we'll move on to communications from other organizations, including the Project 489 dinner show and auction. Does Sarah, you wanted to present? Okay, thanks.
Thank you for giving us a little bit of time tonight to let you know about our exciting new project that we're going to be doing in just a short 6 months. The USD 49 Foundation for Educational Excellence will be hosting its first annual dinner show and auction on Saturday, November 3rd. That'll be held at the Unrein building at the Ellis County Fairgrounds. We'll have the opportunity for guests to preview any auction items starting at 4 o'clock that night. And then we'll also have an Elvis tribute band. Frank Worth and the Vibrations will be starting their show at 5 o'clock while people are looking at the items as well. Dinner service will start from 6 o'clock and go until 7, as well as silent auction booths closing during that same time. And then the oral auction will actually start at 7 o'clock. We will start selling tickets for our event on September 1st, and those tickets can be purchased right here at the district office, at the superintendent's office. It'll be $75 per person or $500 for a table of 8. Table seating will be available for groups of 8 or 16 if you want to get a big group of people to come to buy tickets and enjoy the evening. We'll try to accommodate as many seating arrangements and requests as possible. There are a lot of different opportunities for businesses, families, and different patrons of the district to get involved. Some of them include being a sponsor for the event. Growing Together sponsors will be at the $5,000 level, and there is an opportunity to be the food and dessert sponsor, as well as a $5,000 raffle ticket sponsor. There's a maroon and gold sponsor level for $2,500, and that would be for sponsoring the purchase of the liquor to be enjoyed by the patrons that night, as well as a raffle ticket sponsor. And then our black and gold sponsors will be at $1,000, and that will sponsor either beer or a raffle ticket. And then we'll also have elementary sponsors for $500, and that would kind of help offset the cost for appetizers and snacks to be enjoyed by all that evening, as well as a $500 raffle ticket sponsor. And then the final way to be a sponsor is at the foundation level, and that money would be used to help offset the costs for pop and soda, ice, things of that nature that night, as well as the late night treat to be enjoyed to kind of help people ready to go home that evening. So we are excited to announce our very first sponsor. Heartland Building Center has already committed $1,000 to be a raffle ticket sponsor, so we're very thankful for their support so early in the planning stages. We do have pretty much a silent and oral auction that'll be part of it. So items that are $250 or more will be on the oral auction, and anything valued under $250 will be on the silent auction. Volunteers will be visiting businesses here in Hayes. Pretty much, we had some folks starting a couple of weeks ago, and we'll be contacting businesses throughout the summer to see if there's any way that you would like to get involved, whether it be a sponsor or donating an item for the auction. There's also an opportunity, there's a lot of businesses that don't maybe necessarily have something that they can donate or have auctioned off. So if they would want to purchase an ad for the catalog, they can also do that. The ads will be $100 for full pages, $50 for half page, or $25 for a quarter page ad. And those will be included in the print catalog that everyone will receive for the night of the auction. Raffle tickets, of course, will be sold before the event as well as during the night of the auction. And then we will be announcing the winners that evening, and people need not be present to win. So if you're unable to actually attend the auction, you're definitely welcome to purchase tickets in advance, and we'll get in touch with the winners after the event if need be. We're very excited about this project just because the district does have so many different needs. So what we're going to be using the money, the proceeds from the event, is actually to help the district with a big project that it's been working on over the past couple of months, as it will continue to do that over the summer. We're having safer entrances installed at the schools, which will require people, guests that visit each school, to be buzzed in, which is great. We don't currently have that at all of our schools. So this will also allow for updated security and surveillance equipment to be installed at each school of attendance. So all of the schools will have safer entrances by the 2018-2019 start of the school year. So although our auction is actually afterward, we intend on trying to help the district pay for those projects once we have all the proceeds for the auction tabulated. So there are a couple of other ways for people to get involved. If we have high school age students who would like to volunteer, the November 1st and 2nd happen to be parent-teacher conference days, so they could come and help volunteer their time if they'd want to. But we're looking for cashiers currently, auction callers, runners, people to help set up and tear down the event, picking up and delivering auction items the week of the auction, bartenders, servers, auction booth workers, or people even to help sell raffle tickets. So we're excited to have this opportunity. If there's any questions, I would be happy to take them at this time, but if the public has questions, they can call the district office here at 623-2400 or email me or Renee Booth. The contact information is listed. Do you guys have any questions?
I did want to say thank you for all you guys have done. I know how much work it is. This started as an idea probably 6 to 10 years ago, and nobody was able to get it accomplished. So good job for you guys finally getting it off the ground.
Thank you.
Is it the foundation that's doing this?
Yes.
And about the sponsorship opportunities, with Heartland doing $1,000, do they get free tickets, or do they still have to buy tickets?
So the higher level sponsors, we are giving a few tickets to those folks, but at the $1,000 level, they would still need to purchase a ticket to come. We will be advertising all of our sponsors and kind of our bigger donors the night of the auction, as well as using our social media presence on Facebook to try to help them. And we are currently working on trying to get some information shared through Eagle Community TV. So if we have that opportunity, we'll definitely be plugging our sponsors and thanking them for their donations at that time.
Yeah, just a question, what's the target of the need?
I think John and I were discussing it's a little over $50,000 for the improvements that are needed at this time. Is that correct, John?
Well, that is what we were hoping that we could come up with. We believe that the cost of those improvements could well exceed that if we're talking about the surveillance equipment. If we really were trying to switch out all of that, it would probably be more than that. But we're thinking, yeah, a little over 50,000 would be wonderful to be able to do.
Yeah, with it being our first one, we didn't want to aim too high for the stars and just wanted to be realistic, but we're hoping that we could make some sort of sizable chip in the program and the projects that are being done. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Moving on to the report of the superintendent.
Yes, an opportunity here to introduce Chris Hipp. Chris Hipp is our new Director of Special Education. He evidently knows some of you, but there's a few that are new faces to him, so we were able to get him on the agenda for the next board meeting, so you'll be able to get to know him a little bit better even before the end of July, but he kind of started a little bit last week even. He started getting familiar with the office and some other reports that needed to be done, but today was really his first day. So Chris Hipp, really excited to have him on board with us. Also, it's nice to have him. He's already requested to come to the first budget meeting. We're very fortunate because it's so late getting these budget meetings set because of what happened with the judicial. But the first one is actually the closest one, which is so odd that it worked out that way. And Tracy was smart enough to have that all planned to call immediately when we found, because we figured people would drive extra distance just to end up getting to the first one. We do end up having the 5 slots, Tracy, myself, Chris is going to go, and then Renee and Nicole will also attend from the business office. And not really looking forward to a budget meeting, but it's nice to be able to have it scheduled, and that's planned on Friday the 13th of July. So we should end up knowing at that time information that should help guide us in the preparation of that budget then.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, John. All right. Grab your seats, guys. We're going to go through the consent agenda here I don't have to read them all? Oh, awesome.
Does she need to read every word for word what's on there?
The whole thing or just like the items?
Yeah, I don't
Just the items.
Okay, all right, here we go. So we're going to move on to the consent agenda to include the board meeting minutes from June 25th, 2018. Personnel transactions, release from contracted liquidated damages, homeless student liaison, compliance coordinator for federal anti-discrimination laws, including Title 6, 7, 8, Section 504 ADA, Public Information Officer, CAPER's authorized representative and additional signers, building principals to enforce compulsory school attendance, Title I representative, Federal Nutrition Services representative, official district newspaper for publication of school notices, 1,116-hour school calendar for 2018-19, annual waiver of requirements for generally accepted accounting principles for 2018-19, guidelines for activity funds for 2018-19, resolution establishing petty cash limits, resolution to allow for destruction of records, official depositories for school district funds, discussion on board attorney setting the annual record fees, freedom of information officer, signature card approval, foster student liaison, surplus, approval of early childhood Corrections Policy Council minutes from May 31, 2018, approval of Early Childhood Connections Director's Report from June 25, 2018.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to new business. The board president appointments, and I see those in our board packet. I'm assuming that some of these I'm going to need to contact some people and reach out to them, so.
You make assumptions at this point that individuals that have participated in those particular positions in the past, many of them are willing to do it again, but yes, Sarah has contacted some, but there's a couple we still need to end up identifying.
So you have a list for me that,
We're still looking to fill one of the technology committee positions for the elementary teacher level, so I believe that's the only one that we have pending at this time.
okay.
I would move to table the board president appointments till the next meeting.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
The KASB convention representative, I didn't realize that was a real thing. My name's on there. I do plan on going to it again this next year. It's just basically my parents' backyard. So if you want to put a name there, you can go ahead and put my name.
That's a separate, that's the next one.
Am I really jumping ahead?
Yes.
All right.
I'm so sorry.
The only discussion item I would have is on those appointments. Generally, in the past, it was if somebody had a recommendation or wanted to serve on one of those, that they would notify the board president.
Okay.
So they could make the appointment.
And I would be happy to accept any of those recommendations if you guys want to email me or call me. Happy to accept those.
Just a question here is, look, technology committee is it been traditional not to include anybody on the board of that committee?
Well, I want to say tradition, I'm just saying there hasn't been. It's not, at least the last couple of years, there hasn't been. Now, Lance has attended, but it's not been because he's been identified.
I was on it
as-
before I was actually a board member. I actually was on the committee. And then I think at that time, I think we moved forward, and I think they were, I don't remember as a board, I think we went forward and basically didn't have any board members on that committee.
Because nobody wanted me or because?
No, I think we were trying to keep some of that because a lot of those decisions that come forward, they're bringing them to the board on some of that. So I think that was kind of our rationale before, to try to stay out of that and allow them to bring it forward.
Back to Sophia's question. I realize that the next agenda item is the Kansas Association of School Boards policy recommendations, but your question was about your position? Is that your?
Yeah, I was looking at this like green chart.
Yeah. So apparently you're the current one, right, Sarah? Is that
Yeah,
where you-
her and Dr. Adams had both attended last
Okay.
year, so we just put that on as a reference in case they were interested in attending again.
Okay. Gotcha. Is there any other discussion on this? All right, so it's been moved by Board Member Schwartz and seconded by Board Member Bickle to table this until the next meeting. And I'll accept any recommendations between now and then. Call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Or nay, please. Sorry, I'm used to running a different kind of meeting. Motion passes 7-0. All right, moving on to moving on to the next item on new business, the Kansas Association of School Boards, KSAB policy recommendations, which are included in your packet as well.
And there's a number of them to go through, but if you have had the time to look through them, and if you have any questions now, that's great. If you need the more time, which would be the next few weeks to really look through them, study them, you will find out that even I have a hard time identifying some that are questionable. They're really pretty straightforward. I don't know if there's any but we'll find out. I mean, as far as you study them, and if you have questions, please, I really do ask you on this, if you have questions of them, it is possible they may be such that it would be best that I get some guidance even from KSB as to the intention or some of the background information of what their intention is. So if you find anything in the next week or two, please let me know, and I can contact KSB as well and make sure that I have solid answers for those questions. But is there anything at this particular point that I should jot down? I could even do this week. If not, we'll work on that to the next
There
meeting.
was something, let me see if I can find it. If I can't quickly, I will not pursue this.
And I will repeat for those that this is new to, and for the public as well, these are actual recommendations from KSB. This is not work that's been done by administration or others within the district and making recommendation of these changes. It came from the state, it came from KSB as recommendations. And again, not just to Hayes, this goes out to all school districts in the state, and that's what their recommendations are.
I think it's page 120, talking about insufficient funds. There's two options. I guess that means school boards generally pick option 1 or option 2. It's probably an obvious question.
Which one?
I think it's 120.
120.
The header is
What-
insufficient funds checks.
Which section? Mine aren't numbered.
Oh, okay.
It's like page 120 of the agenda.
PDF.
I don't have it downloaded.
Okay.
What's the section title? It's like DJF or
Deb, let me find it.
DP?
Yeah, DP.
Yes. Once again, it's probably so obvious, I just but this is option 1, the superintendent or superintendent's designee will authorize to request charges to be filed against a person or persons giving worthless or insufficient fund checks, et cetera, et cetera. Option 2, the superintendent or the superintendent's designee is authorized to retain the services of a bad check collection agency, et cetera. So is your experience that board districts go one way or the other, or is this kind of a brand new thing? I mean, is this so new that you can't answer that question?
Well, even in that case, yes, I don't have an answer
Okay.
for that. I'm sorry, Mike. I want to make sure that if I'm giving an answer as far as,
Yeah.
I can certainly find out through a number of different superintendents, but
Okay.
Those are your only two options, really.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. But I guess the reason and we can discuss this later, my thought is, if we're dealing with a lot of bad checks, maybe Tracy's the person that asked this question, then maybe we want to move away from option 1 because it seems like a pain for someone to do. On the other hand, option 1 seems like a friendlier way to go than option 2 does.
well, and option 1 is essentially what we've been doing, I mean, in essence. And as far as I know, Mike, that's typically what I'm familiar with in the past. I do believe option 2, even though it's listed as a new option that's being thrown out by KSB, I'm quite aware that there's some bigger districts that have utilized that
Okay.
in the past. So I guess it's a possibility. And you are right. It really does take away. It's messy. It's a pain trying to deal with that. But it's definitely more friendly overall working with option 1 than option 2.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I have.
Okay, so at this point, if anybody has any questions or concerns, please forward those on to John after reviewing those for the next meeting. Moving on to old business, we'll start with the Chromebook study.
After the last meeting and talking about that, I was with hopes that a week would pass for 7 individual board members to have time to think on it, to discuss with other individuals, and possibly have some open discussion tonight as to how to proceed.
I'll entertain a motion at this point to open up the floor for discussion.
I'd make a motion to move forward with the Chromebook usage plan as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded by Board Member Schwartz, seconded by Board Member Adams. Open it up for discussion now.
And this was okay, there we go. John, do we already have classrooms identified as far as in the middle school and the elementary school that are going to be using this, or how would that?
We did not. Our concern, we talked about it, but our concern was to end up trying to identify and start that discussion with any teacher and try to arrange that. We thought that was premature. And so this is something we knew that we would have to, if it's acted on, we would be then working immediately on this to try to get it to happen. But no, there has not been that contact. No, I would say, excuse me, there's been the contact to find out, can we get the training? Yeah, the training is available, we can do that. But to identify Learning Center is not an issue because we know who's going to have to do that. The two individuals, the elementary classroom, we have to work on that, and then the middle school classroom, we'd have to find, so there's two individuals we would have to identify.
Two questions. One, Paul, I was just going to check, see, and I think you may have clarified it a little bit last time, but I know the university has several representatives that are very intuitive or in tune with the Chromebook stuff. They are not the ones doing the training or offering the training. They would just be there as a resource. Is that correct?
They could be there as a resource. They would provide ongoing training. There would be
But I didn't understand them as being trainers
Okay,
either.
I'm just curious.
They're more than, in my conversation with them, give them a call, ask, they'll certainly share their expertise in that way. And I know Dr. Becky has been using a touchscreen Chromebook for a while, and at the conference that I was at with several of our teachers, they really have just started rolling out the comparable touchscreen technology committee identified. So I think that question that was asked last time, why should we get the touchscreen, is what we identified by the tech committee. Chromebook is now, well, when you say Chromebook, all the vendors of Chromebooks have now begun to market that. I know there were some things about using them in science and math classrooms, which I think would be compatible with what we've heard our math faculty talk about and some of our science faculty talk about before. So it seems to be a fair test.
And that, I guess that leads to my other question, which, do you know, John, did they have an opportunity as far as, and I guess part of it's probably going to determine or depend on which classrooms we put it in or whatever, but to ensure that whatever software, that way we don't have a lot of software costs involved
Right,
in doing the test?
We had discussed that, and we believe we can still,
Okay.
it may not be exact when you're
Sure.
trying, but we'll make it as good a test as we can when we're doing that. I'm confident we can.
Thank you.
Question on the price point that you put here, is that pretty solid, or might you need to come back again a little higher? Because usually a study in this scale could be in the order of 30,000. I know you put down 22,000.
Well, I want to say we believe this can be done with this price. I mean, I do not like the idea of us coming back and asking for more money. That's not the intent. Sophia brought up a question at the last meeting of saying, what is the cost of the other applications? Now, that's not figured in here, but I don't think it'll be significant to be an issue of coming back to the board with. I don't. So.
Yeah, it might be a negotiated item with vendors, say, hey, we're in a trial.
Right.
If you're in a trial district, they might be quite willing
Right.
with the potential of a large scale.
Well, also, the other part, the concern was spending this money for devices for a study. The 15 for the Learning Center, of all of these, we're more and more confident that makes sense. The Learning Center, because that's not with the touchscreen anyway. So those other machines, it could be very well that those machines, if anybody's concerned, well, if the study comes back and the intent is not to use them, we will use them. You know, these still have a place no matter what in our district, and I thought that was important to share, that it's not going to turn out being a waste, even if, no matter what the turnout is. It's still going to be used and used in a good area. People don't realize that in our Learning Center, it's not just the machines that are in that classroom. We have machines that go out with that virtual programming. Okay, so there's a lot of machines that are used in that Learning Center. It's not just a matter of 15 that's needed. So.
John, on, I don't know, maybe paragraph 4 or something on the bottom there, it says there's also a $25 one-time Google setup fee per Chromebook. Is that figured in with the cost of the Chromebook?
It was.
At 240 or 280,
Yeah.
that's including that?
We
Okay.
included that.
Okay.
That's why it's a little higher than what you might think. It's because of that price, yeah. And also we included in that price, we feel there needs to be the cases too, and there's that prices,
So
that
that price
includes
is
the
included.
case too. So that's why I'm saying I think we thought it through of having those covered.
And do you know, the only other question I had on that, do you know what warranty is on those? Is it just a standard 1 year on those?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
At that price, it's probably costs more for a warranty than it does for...
Yeah.
Probably.
Is there any other questions?
I do have some comments.
Okay.
I do like we're keeping the options open for technology since we're buying more. But I still want to just mention that I'm not fully convinced that this would save money in the long run. And I'm not completely convinced that it would improve student performance. And I know that's kind of the point of the study, to kind of figure that out. And then just thinking down the road, if we do end up going with this, the switch to Google Suite and how much extra that would cost. And then it takes years sometimes to switch software over as you adapt it to a new one. So I just see there's more that's on the surface right here. And I know a lot of teachers spoke out against the Chromebooks, and a student wrote to the student newspaper against it. I just think there might be more important things to focus on than technology. I like the idea of it. I like the concept of it, and I think it's well done.
When that group of 8 got together a couple times and talked, Sophia, you need to, all of you need to know, that part of the discussion was before, it pretty much settled that there was more of a discussion of Google transition than Chromebook transition. Chromebook is a device. The issue was more of walking away from Microsoft Office and going to Google than the issue of using a different device. So you're on target with basically some of the issues there. In some ways, this is maybe more of a test of Google than it is of Chromebook in that case.
Anything else?
And it's not a question of whether Google is better or worse than Microsoft Office altogether. It's more an issue of transition and cost of making that for a district and doing it. That I want to clarify that as well. It's
Where I work, since I started working for DSWK, they've switched to Google, and the entire time I've been there, they've been switching to Google. So it's been taking years, and there's still a lot of stuff that they track, and that they're so used to tracking the old way that they're just struggling to switch it over. I think anyone has that with transitions. I just want to be aware that this could be a bigger piece than just a little study and cheaper laptops.
Anyone else? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-1. All right, moving on to student handbook revisions. Does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns for John or anyone else?
I'd make a motion to approve the
Sorry.
elementary, middle school, and high school handbooks for the 2018-19 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Bickle, seconded by Board Member Schwartz. Open it up for discussion.
I'll just point out that I spoke with Sarah earlier. I think my name was left off somewhere in there, so
Greg's is spelled wrong too.
Greg spelled it wrong too, that's right.
That was a hit, Mike.
Yeah, thought I asked her, is that what about the island? That's how you look,
John, were there any big significant changes? I mean,
There wasn't.
I
That's
didn't
what
I
was-
didn't see
yeah.
anything either. All right, anyone have anything else? I will call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the revisions, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on next to discussion by board members and agenda item requests.
I would, as people are, I just want to share that at the last meeting ended up bringing up that training that's in Hayes. pleasantly surprised. It was great that 3 individuals are able to arrange for that. So, I mean, I'm saying that from the standpoint, I know everybody works, and to take a day, I just was pleasantly surprised that 3 are. If there's anybody else that wishes to, please let us know this week so we can get that scheduled. But we do have 3 right now that are planning on attending that.
I had a discussion item, and I don't know whether, I guess this sounds crazy, but I'm going to ask the rest of the board if they feel this is a discussion item I should recommend or we should put on or not. At the last board meeting, we had kind of decided we're going to table bond discussion and whatnot for till January 1. And one of the biggest reasons was the public. You know, I mean, we're not sure what the public, they don't, you know, we're not ready to move forward or anything else. Should we be having John look at alternatives or methods to find out what the public wants at this point in time, whether that's a survey or discussion or public forum? I don't know. I'm just, you know, I mean, obviously we want to make sure when we move forward, it is, you know, the right time, the right everything, and we want, you know, we can't go against the public. That's just not gonna work. Should John be looking into alternatives and be bringing that to us? I mean, is that something he should be working on during this 6-month period?
As far as alternatives, what do you mean?
Well, and not alternatives as far as the bond, more like information gathering. At this point in time, we need to know what the public really supports. You know, I mean, what the public wants, and if that's a survey, and we need to figure that out. If we need to get that through, like I said, maybe some sort of town hall meetings or something else. At this point, I'm really just saying, do we need to turn it over to John to bring us investigative options for what the public wants?
And I would only comment from the standpoint that if you're speaking of surveys, I know that that's definitely a price tag that's less than $20,000 and probably is at my authority to do so, but always felt that was very smart to have the board's approval to do that. When it's tabled until January, I'm just sharing, I had no intention of doing what you're saying until January. I mean, just because it's really a tabled item is, that's how I read it. It's
I would say or add to that without us having a consensus of direction or general direction, if he would go out or anybody would go out and do a public forum, you're going to get 300 different ideas. So I really feel like that charge that we want to give the committee or the community or whoever is something that we have to be in consensus on. I think you just open up a door and you have everyone's opinion of which direction you can go. And my rationale last time for voting for tabling it was not only to get us in consensus, but also just to take a breather, let the community take a breather, and not quit shoving things that we weren't 100% behind. So I really do feel like we need to just take our foot off the gas for a little bit.
Okay, and I'm fine with that.
The only comment I would make is that if citizens do have an opinion to express, and I know.
Yep,
seat
come on, we got lots of empty seats.
Yeah, but I would encourage this, particularly the press, to please communicate that we welcome the citizens to comment, because it's been silent, really, have been silent until, I think we got one email last week or something.
Yeah.
And I would appreciate that people speak up.
Absolutely.
Pro, con, or they just share their ideas, and we'll just put those in a bin and come dust them off come January, but we need to know that people are interested, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure that, I think that's right, that it's not clear if that is the case.
Yeah.
So please communicate that out to
Said
the press.
anyone is welcome anytime.
And there's plenty of time to speak.
Yeah. Anything else? All right, we do need an executive session, right?
10 minutes?
10 minutes? Tracy and Bill, or just Bill?
No, yes, please, both.
Both? Okay. And, okay, thank you. And this is for employee, employer?
Yeah, you need to read it.
All right. Okay. All right. I want to make sure I was on the right one here.
We just passed the, oh,
There isn't.
We are going to be passing the policy, yeah.
Okay. I move the Board of Education recess into executive session along with the Board Attorney, Director of Special Education, Director of Finance to discuss pursuant to Open Meetings Act, except for matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives of the public body or agency per KSA 75-4319B3, with the open session to resume in this room at 7, let's just call it 7:30, so we can take a little break if anybody needs it. Is that okay?
Second.
Start at 7:20, resume at 7:30.
Second. Too late.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.